racing this year. And again, a massive jump of maturity for him. He came in here as a super raw rookie out of the national level karting ranks, and you can see him get better and better, more comfortable throughout the season. But then you get that off season where you grow another 6 months of your age. I think he grew probably about 3 inches as well in terms of height, just kind of growing as a young man.
Yep.
But he's been strong out of the gate. You mentioned that not yet that victory. So he could be the next guy that gets a race win for sure. But the consistency, I want to say, he got a couple podiums, or a podium at Road America. I think at least 3 or 4 podiums this year as well.
Exactly right. Michael D'Orlando only a point behind him in the 4th spot. Another returning driver.
Yeah, if you look 3rd and 4th, I think it's key. Michael D'Orlando and Christian Brooks, 2 of the top drivers returning from last year. They were 4th and 5th in the championship last year. Indeed, that's where they run here right now. Brooks had one issue where he had a DQ for a technical issue that took away a really solid finish that would have put him higher in the points. But D'Orlando has been very good as well, coming off a victory at Lucas Oil Raceway, was able to win the Freedom 75. Had a really good run to 2nd at Road America, then got caught up at an incident in race number 2, which really hurt his points as well.
You've had 7 different winners on the season so far. Prescott Campbell, who's 6th in the points, is one of them, taking the win at Barber.
Yeah, again, another second-year driver in the program, another Lucas Oil School of Racing Formula Car Series champion. We have all the 3 of them. We have Rhys Gold, of course, from 3 years ago, running Indy Pro, Prescott Campbell, and Eli Navarro, who will have our Road to Indy scholarship colors on his car. Has had throughout the season, the red, white, and black, I believe, for his car. But indeed, you look at, I mentioned Road America all the time, and Road America, John, has always been on our schedule ahead of Mid-Ohio. Yes. So Mid-Ohio is really an opportunity for the rookies to step up again. Road America is always that turning point. Mm-hmm. They've done St. Petersburg, maybe Barber, Indianapolis Road Course, the Oval at Lucas Oil Raceway. Right. So all the rookies have kind of got more comfortable. Well, when they get to Road America, which is normally about a month after that, they've had a chance to settle in, to do some testing. The rookies come on strong, right? Yeah. Spike Kohlbecker for Ignite Autosport with Cape Motorsports was on the podium at Road America.
Right.
And then the young Canadian, Thomas Nepveu, was able to get the win in the second race. I think huge for Thomas.
Spike Kohlbecker, as you mentioned, is your top-placed rookie in 7th spot. Still looking for his first win, but he's only 3 points behind Prescott Campbell.
Again, the start of the season, here's a kid that ran Canadian Formula Ford, British Formula Ford down in Toyota Racing Series, did F4 as well, full season of F4 racing. Spike is a kid I think that is going to be a fantastic story in the road to Indy, and maybe down the line in the NTT IndyCar Series as well. Young American out of St. Louis, really focused on getting the money together to keep racing for next year. And what I like about Spike is he's the guy on the ground, not the mom and dad that are doing all the networking. Right. Spike's doing it himself, which I think is key. When you can activate a young driver like that to really take control of their own career, it pays off dividends.
Exactly right. Let's look at the timing charts. Looks like the 34 car top of the charts early on. Dylan Christie, one of the rookies, and he's a homeboy out of Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
And a 1:25.716, putting these times into perspective. Qualifying lap record set by Matty Brabham back in 2012, a 1:20.25. Race lap record set by Kyle Kirkwood at a 1:21.27 back in 2018.
A much different race car when Matty Brabham was running it. That was the old Van Diemen, a lot more downforce, different tire back then. So we're not going to see anything close, I think, to that. But we're going to watch out for Dylan Christie. At least you might, John. Maybe I do, too. We had him in the booth at Road America as my driver analyst.
Got it.
Did a pretty good job.
Awesome.
So he may be coming for my job or gunning for your job one day. He's from Ohio, right? You never know. But Dylan's a great young man. Runs for Turn 3 Motorsports, another one of our rookies, and learning like crazy this year. That's what we really focused on when I had him in the booth talking about that, just how much he is learning. And just not just every race, it's through the sessions. Especially at a track like Mid-Ohio here. It's so tough to learn this racetrack. So many little idiosyncrasies of how to get around this track quickly. And I think all the rookie drivers, they're going to be different from Friday or Thursday testing yesterday to how they're going to be at for the end of the last race, the third race on Sunday. The experience level will be massive.
Exactly right. And the track will evolve some as well as we get through that. Of the 28 you got entered here, 16 are rookies, about half the field, a little more than half the field. How's this crop of rookies stack up according to what you've been seeing in the past years?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because I personally think they've been strong. I've been really happy with the rookies. I think we're going to see some. We're not going to have just 2 or 3 championship contenders next year. We may have 10.
Sure. That
kind of thing. We'll have the rookies that come back. There's a potential for some really strong rookies to come in that could challenge. But we're not in the same place because we have a lot more, I want to say, quality and diversity in our paddock. In years past, you knew if you were a rookie, if you can get a seat at Cape Motorsports, there was a good chance that you're going to win the championship. They've won 8 of the last 10 championships.
Right.
Kyle Kirkwood jumping into the seat, winning a championship as a rookie. Oliver Askew winning as a rookie.
Right.
You're not seeing that anymore because if you look at how many, look at the guys that have won. So Kiko Porto, a race winner for D-Force. Sunder Murthy for Pabst. Michael D'Orlando for Cape. Christian Brooks for Exclusive Autosport. Those are all the 4 different teams have won races already this year, and that's the thing. We've got such equality across the program. The rookies are strong. For certain, I think, again, we're going to have at least 5 or 6, maybe 7 drivers in the championship contention next year.
Sounds great.
Josh Pearson on top right now, 123.677. Pearson, as I said, 15 years of age, at a Wilsonville, Oregon, second year in the series, running for Pabst Racing. Jace Denmark has been an impressive rookie, John. Literally, we had no idea that he was even really getting ready to go. He didn't do much off-season testing. Called up Augie Pabst, him and his dad, and said, we want to go USF 2000. Showed up at the spring training. I had no idea he was even going to be there.
Right. And
he has been really good. Jace Denmark with Pabst Racing.
Matt Round-Garrido, he's one of your returning drivers, a 23.7. Just about 0.02 of a second off of Christian Brooks now, who takes over the top spot in the 44 car, a 123.4. Christian already a 2-time winner this season.
Indeed. Swept the weekend at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, second-year driver. In fact, he has 3 wins on the road to Indy, all of them coming at St. Petersburg, because he won the finale last year, the last race of the season, and then, of course, able to win here as well. I think he would love to have gone to Toronto, because there's just something about a street course that Christian Brooks loves. Different approach coming into the career as well. Top national level kart racing driver.
Yep.
Instead of jumping into the road to Indy or another open wheel formula car, actually jumped in at that point to the Red Bull Global Rallycross program, did the GRC Light Series, which if anything, even though that program didn't take off and I think give him the career path he expected, a lot of car control developed there. So he's always hoping it's going to rain because he thinks in the rain I got everybody, which is always important to have some confidence in the rain.
Yeah, I saw him in our series, and he was great in the rain.
Yeah,
so,
exactly that, right?
That's a good thing. So, and, save for that bad finish he had at Road America in the second round, he'd be right up in the top 3 of the points, I'm sure.
And it was tough because he didn't qualify well, Christian Brooks at Road America, and he literally had worked his way up to, I think, 6th position and was trying to make a move on Nolan Siegel in the hurry downs, turn number 8, got into the back of him, knocked the front wing off, actually got a drive-through penalty for the contact. If that not had happened, he would have been a lot closer to the top of the points. But again, John, I've been saying this, Mid-Ohio has normally been that turning point race in the season. I talk about Road America being the race where the rookies step up. But Mid-Ohio's, how many times, if you look back, the battles between Matt Brabham and Spencer Piggott for USF 2000 championship, between Parker Thompson and I think it was, I can't think of his name right now, Anthony Martin. Yeah. They were both with Cape Motorsports. Right. A flat tire for Parker, Anthony wins the championship, right? This is the turning point weekend. You have to come in here. If you could sweep here, it's huge for points implications.
So, Christian Brooks, Matt Round-Garrido, Kiko Porto, your top 3. Those 3 separated by about 1/4 of a second.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's about right.
We see a lot of that, yeah.
Josh Pearson now takes over the top spot again as he's clear of Christian Brooks by, 67 10,000ths of a second.
Oh, why not?
Yeah, come on. Let's be close. What do you say?
Nice to see clean and dry racetrack for these drivers here today. We had a test day yesterday. They were going to get 3 sessions in. We had a bunch of water. It got rained on. Yep. I don't think the track was really ever very good yesterday, which is sad for these guys that could have got a full day. So this really more indicative, I think, of the pace, John. Yeah. The first opportunity to really get out there with some rubber down. A 90-minute session right before them for Indy Lights, so they got the track cleaned up nice. They got a lot of rubber down. So this is a really good look at the speed. Pearson P1, Brooks in 2nd, D'Orlando in 3rd, Round-Garrido 4th, and Jace Denmark 5th. Now, we also shouldn't throw too much onus into the speed because for the 5 sessions, practice, qualifying, and 3 races this weekend, they only have 3 sets of tires, 3 fresh sets of tires. So nobody's using fresh tires right now.
Yep.
These are what we call carryover sets or a leftover set from Road America. They'll bring them here. That's the tires they get to use in this particular session. The only session you can use them. So when we go qualifying, they're going to have to put fresh rubber on. And again, the same thing when we go racing this afternoon.
But even with used tires, they're in the mid-22s. The race lap record in this chassis is a 21.2. So, it's these are really competitive times. There's no question.
Like I said, don't think we'll be getting down to the 120.2 from Matt Brad, but you never know, man. Like, we continue to develop the cars. Drivers come in and get good. We'll see what happens here.
Temperatures are cool. Motors like cool temperatures.
So don't they?
The track temperature now up to 80 degrees. When the test session started, the track temperature was 70 degrees. Air temperature about 60. So it's been so hot everywhere, and we get a little respite today and tomorrow, but Sunday's going to be back in the mid 80s. So.
Well, I've been staying in Southern California throughout the summer here, all the races I've been going to, and we've had a couple of 105 days, so it's been warm out there for sure. Very, very nice, more relaxed conditions here. So again, folks, 3 races for you here in USF 2000. One interesting thing about the series, John, is this car, the USF 17, coming out in 2017, exactly the same carbon monocot chassis as the PM18 Indy Pro 2000. We just hang bigger stuff and stronger stuff on the Indy Pro 2000, more downforce, more aero, more braking. But these guys will have a new tub next year, a brand new tub with the Halo type device going to be put on the car. So an update kit for all the drivers and all the teams. So we'll have that Halo on both our Indy Pro 2000 and USF 2000 cars, matching the Halo that we put on the Indy Lights here for 2021.
Yep.
Kiko Porto back on top as D-Force Racing 1 and 2. Porto, the Brazilian P1. Josh Peterson coming in to mix that up. Nolan Siegel from Palo Alto, California, third-year driver in this series, was P2 for a second. Michael D'Orlando back on top for Cape Motorsports. I believe he won here last year. So D'Orlando coming back, as I said, the top returning driver in the championship, 4th last year. Already for D'Orlando, 1 win to his credit on the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway, but he has been very good. It was interesting, John. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course did not qualify well at all. I want to say somewhere down in the high teens kind of thing, or mid-teens. But literally could have been my drive of the race every day. He stormed his way back into the top 10. Let me just look quickly at the results for D'Orlando. Yeah, 2nd, 4th, and 4th, starting 12th, 11th, and 11th. So not that as far back as I thought, but every race able to get himself back up into the top 5 onto the podium as well. So I think a really good turning point race for him, then was able to come back and cap off the month of May with a victory in the Freedom 75.
You know, the parity we're seeing in this practice session is just astounding. The top 17 separated by 0.8 of a second.
That's it, right? And listen, 17th right now, just 0.8 of a second back. Shout out to Trey Burke, because his story is so cool for Joe Dueling Autosport. Here's a guy that came up running dirt sprint cars,
right?
Mini sprints into the 360 sprint cars, 410 sprint cars. Out of Texas is like, you know what, his idol is AJ Foyt. AJ did it all, right? Sprint car driver, dirt driver, was able to go to Indy, and he wanted to try this. This is so outside his sphere of experience to be able to come in here, a single car team, so he doesn't have any other data. They're not running with a regular team. They started their own team essentially, and he's actually been in the sim a lot this particular weekend. We have Greg Degeorges from Symmetric Performance Driver Labs here. We have a sim on site in a trailer. He's been in the sim, working with his driver coach, Sage Karam. Sage, no stranger to USF 2000, our champion back in 2010, multi-time starter in the Indianapolis 500 with Dreyer Reibold. So Sage has been working with Trey Burke. And to see Trey right now, now up into the 13th position.
Yep.
Talk about a turnaround for this young driver who has really been in the bottom 3, 4, 5 drivers all season long.
That sounds great.
Huge for him. Really impressive.
Michael D'Orlando at the top, Josh Pearson second, Kiko Porto third, Nolan Siegel fourth, and Degeorges. Haven't talked about Degeorges yet in the number 6 car. He's currently 6th quick. Those top 6 separated by just about 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, let's give you a little bit of a rundown. John gave you the top 5 there. Jace Denmark currently running in the 6th spot. Matt Roungarito in 7th. Christian Brooks 8th. Josh Green in 9th at Mount Kisco, New York, in the Turn 3 Motorsports machine, second-year driver. Simon Sykes, 2-time SCCA National Championship runoff winner last year, winning in Formula Continental and Formula F at Road America. He was in 10th spot. Yuvan Sundermurthy jumping up into 9th. That moves Sykes to 11th. Jackson Lee out of Avon, Indiana, now in the 12th spot. Chase Highland in 13th. Miles Rowe for Force Indy in 14th. And Trey Burke rounding out your top 15. Billy Fraser and Peter Vodanovich, the 2 drivers out of New Zealand, currently actually 17th and 18th as Dylan Christie has moved up a bit. Prescott Campbell 19th. Eric Evans, first-year driver, a winner last year in F4, running for Velocity Racing Development. Evans in the 29th in 20th. Eli Navarro 21st. Kent Facaro 23rd. Evan Stammer, Christian Weir, Michael Myers, Thomas Netfuk, Spike Kohlbecker, and Nathan Bird. Driver coming to a stop just on the outside of the carousel.
I think it's the 7 of Chase Highland.
Indeed. Getting confirmation, the 7 of Chase Highland off. You can see him there, those of you watching on the Road to Indy TV app. If you're around the racetrack and you want to follow this program more, download the Road to Indy TV app on Google Play, and iTunes, depending on your mobile device, and all the content that's produced by the Road to Indy TV crew, all available, and all our live streaming events too. Every event we go to, you're able to live stream on your mobile device.
We'd also like to welcome the guests this weekend from Findlay, Ohio-based Cooper Tire. We're in the Cooper Tire Press Tower right now. A longtime partner of the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tire, and a tremendous supporter of drivers climbing the ladder to the NTT IndyCar Series. Cooper Tire is also the official tire of the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and we have a new Cooper Tire Pavilion right inside of turn number 1, and that's where the Cooper Tire stage is. And Rob, you're going to be there at 2:15 doing a Q&A.
Yeah, I got a bunch of them going on here today. Juncos Racing drivers Stingray Rob and Toby Sowery will join me at 2:15. Tomorrow I'll have Braden East from Exclusive Autosport and Christian Rasmussen of J. Howard Driver Development. A couple of drivers challenging in the Indy Pro 2000 category. That's 120. And then on Sunday at 11:05, the winners of USF 2000, Indy Pro, and Indy Lights, all 3 races on Sunday. Parker Thompson's going to be over there for that one. Parker, of course, the host of our Road to Indy TV program this year. And Parker, of course, multi-time race winner in both USF 2000 and Indy Pro. And John did mention Cooper Tires. Cooper Tire is proud to be a presenting sponsor of the Road to Indy, supporting all 3 rungs of the open wheel development ladder. An Ohio-based company since 1914, Cooper makes tires that are built to last for your truck, car, or SUV. Visit CooperTire.com today to explore all the tires that Cooper has to offer and find a dealer near you. Be sure to follow @Team Cooper Tire on Twitter and Instagram for the latest updates on the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. Yeah, lots of Cooper Tire logos around here. The spiritual home, we say, of Cooper Tires, again, in nearby Findlay. And yeah, that brand new pavilion, I think, went up just in the last couple of weeks, too, if I'm not
Exactly.
mistaken.
Yeah, it was still under construction last weekend. They finished it up just in time for this weekend.
And we got a couple hundred guests from Cooper Tires coming to enjoy the weekend here as well. Looking forward to it.
They'll be 1 floor above us, most likely, and the luxury suites at the top of the what we call the 5-story here at Mid-Ohio. But we've still got about 17 minutes, 12 minutes, to go. We're about 17 minutes into this session. And we've been all green with the exception of this one red flag.
And, yeah, they were able to get Chase brought back into pit lane pretty quickly there. So Chase Highland, again, driver making his debut here this week, and spoke with him yesterday. Chase, driver in the F4 program. Good to have him with us sampling the action here in USF 2000. Here's your current top 10. As John had said, still about 14 minutes still to go. Actually, where are we? I'm looking at the time kind of winding down. There it is there. 12 and a half minutes still on the clock as we're still on red. Michael D'Orlando from Cape Motorsports out of Hartsdale, New York, currently sitting in the 4th spot in points. P1 right now, just about 2/10 quicker than Jace Denmark and Josh Pearson, the 2 drivers from Pabst Racing. Matt Roungarito, the Englishman running for Exclusive Autosports, podium earlier this year at St. Petersburg. He is currently P4 ahead of the D-Force drivers, Kiko Porto and Nolan Siegel. Jackson Lee up into the 7th spot. Bejoy Garg in 8th. Ewan Sooner-Murthy in 9th. And 10th is Christian Brooks. And a new sponsor on the car for Jackson Lee this weekend as well, from Prime 47, one of the top steak, if not the top steakhouse in Indianapolis.
Awesome.
That's my idea of a solid partner right there.
There you go.
And, we'll talk more about it. I'll bring a list up for Jackson. He and his, of course, father, Kevin Lee, noted broadcaster for NBC. They have done their work to put together sponsors. They don't have the means, the financial backing to be able to have him racing here. But, man, they have dug in. Jackson's working hard. You look at that car. You go back and look at J. Howard Driver Development's team in the paddock. And we welcome any of the fans here this weekend. Come and join us in the Road to Indy paddock. We'd love to have you meet our drivers. But that car is covered with sponsors. They've done a great job getting partners on board.
Exactly right.
So the green flag brought back out. 11 minutes still remaining in this practice session. Again, having a quick look at everything that's going on here today. USF 2000 back on the racetrack at 1:10 for their qualifying session, and then we'll race this afternoon at 4:05. Nice spread for USF 2000. Busy day today, with 3 sessions, but a race today, a race tomorrow, and a race on Sunday as well.
Yeah, it's nice. They don't have to stack it up and get 2 races on the same day. Yeah.
And we've done that normally. A lot of times they're done on Saturday for USF 2000, but able to get that 3rd race, the triple header in. The triple header balances out the races because these drivers will not be going to the Oval at Worldwide Technology Raceway Gateway. So instead, we get a triple header here this weekend. I believe we're doing a triple header, I think, at New Jersey Motorsports Park as well. I'll have to confirm that. We're there in a standalone event at the end of August. Looking forward to that.
And that's your finale. for the season.
Actually, no, Mid-Ohio now. It was not.
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not on this list.
Not in your that one there. But yeah, so because of Toronto getting canceled, we're coming back here to Mid-Ohio. And we'll actually have all three of our series here, and I believe there's going to be another series maybe joining us on that weekend as well that has not yet been confirmed.
Yep, we have not heard yet, but
we're going to crown 3 champions here.
There you go.
And deliver a ton of money at the banquet, which we'll have that Sunday night when everything wraps up. And again, one of the beauties of this the Road to Indy, John, we haven't talked a lot about it as of yet. We will throughout the weekend. Is the unparalleled scholarship program. Over $2 million worth of scholarship money heading out to our drivers. USF 2000 champion winning over $350,000 to go to Indy Pro 2000. Indy Pro 2000 over $700,000 to move up to Indy Lights. And, of course, the Indy Lights champion, $1.25 million. 3 races in the NTT IndyCar Series, including the Indianapolis 500. And we've seen some deserving champions work their way up there. Pato Award, of course, being one. Oliver Askew, our champion, was able to do a full season with Arrow McLaren SP, and of course that relationship ended. Looked like, and Oliver would tell you, he didn't think he was going to be back in IndyCar. Didn't think the opportunity was there. All of a sudden, we see a wreck for Felix Rosenqvist at Detroit. Oliver's there coaching the Indy Lights drivers for Andretti Autosport. I read a couple articles about it. He saw it yet. So, well, you may get a call. He's like, there's no way they're going to call me to drive the car.
Right.
Phone rings.
The phone rings.
He's in the car the next day, and then, of course, was able to come back and run with Ed Carpenter Racing at Road America, replacing an injured Rhys VK, which is wild because, of course, they were rivals all the way through the Road to Indy.
Sure. Back
and forth on the championships all the way up the ranks. But I thought Oliver did a tremendous job at Road America. It was really, really impressive. And I think, John, impressive enough that we may see another Road to Indy driver back in IndyCar. I think he'll get a ride next year.
Yeah, and Rhys and Felix are both back this weekend.
Exactly.
Too, so that's great.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Again, both drivers, former winners in the Road to Indy and the Indy Lights Series. We were lucky to have Felix with us with Bilardi Auto Racing. Won a bunch of races for them and before making the move up to IndyCar. And we got driver off coming up there out of the keyhole.
Very slow. He may just be looking for a gap.
Oh, he literally spun, dropped the wheel. He was sideways.
I just saw him as he was slowly rolling down the straightaway.
Well, listen, that's one of the tough parts of this racetrack. Downhill, off-camber, keyhole, turn number 2. You get out of the rumbles like that a little too far. How many times have you seen drivers get all the way off, over the bump, and I think probably just dropped the wheel and hung a wheel and around it went. Not quite sure which driver that was, but it could be this guy right here. That might have been Eric Evans, potentially, in the VRD machine.
Eric's currently 20th on the charts, but only about a second and 800ths off of the quickest time.
Yeah, this is why USF 2000 is so much like the NTT IndyCar Series. Literally, if you look somewhere in the middle here, Bejoy Gard is 10th position. He's 4/10 of a second back. He gets another 10th. He's up into 7th. It just that 10th of a second is enough to move you up a bunch of spots.
Our second red flag of the session.
Seeing a red flag there. Unsure right now what the red flag is for at this point.
We have a car off up in the keyhole. We don't have a number yet. Just hearing that from the corner workers.
So you wonder whether or not potentially, John, there was contact there. We saw the driver spinning. Maybe there was contact further back.
We're thinking it might be the 16 car of Kent Facaro out of Plattsburgh, New York for Miller Vinatieri Motorsports.
Indeed, Kent Facaro. There we go, turn 2, number 16. Kent Facaro made a debut last year at New Jersey Motorsports Park, his first full-time season here in USF 2000, so essentially a rookie like all the other drivers. Pushing hard there.
Yeah, we've got a replay of the spin.
Oh, we do. Yeah, indeed. The two drivers got together coming out of the keyhole, the bottom of the track. I didn't see Vaccaro. He's probably buried off the side, and the one driver who was spinning. I want to say that's very likely Eric Evans.
And Vaccaro right up against the barrier, which is why we couldn't see him. Yeah, from this camera shot, the fence line blocked our view.
So shout out to the crew in the truck there at IMS Productions helping us out with the replay there. Thank you so much for that. You don't like to see that in a practice session. You know, drivers obviously side by side through that corner. That's a tough place to go side by side, John, because it's, I think, an off camber.
Yep.
The car it wants to go to the exit, and the driver on the inside obviously got a little bit too wide rolling through there. So drivers all back in, time winding down again. We'll see how long it takes them to get Ken Facaro's car out of that barrier.
Yeah, the keel's one of those turns where you have to be very patient getting back on the throttle. And if you get a little too impatient, get on the throttle too early, then that takes you out wide and drop a couple wheels off the outside, and then you're off to the races, as it were. So.
And is that not one of the things you have to teach young drivers?
Patience. Absolutely.
It's not easy.
Absolutely.
They want to be on the throttle, and because of the earlier you're on the throttle, the longer you make the straightaway.
Yes,
and
exactly.
That's the key. You got to be patient, like you said. You're trying to roll on that, squeeze on that throttle, but you have to be patient because the car is taking the set coming down the hill out of turn number 2. One of my favorite corners, actually, in all the motorsports, all the racing I've done. I've had a chance to race here a number of times. I absolutely love turn number 2, and the combination of 6, 7, 8, or I'll say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right,
Amazing.
right. Exactly. What we like to call madness.
Madness.
Here.
I know. I love hearing that. Not a lot of people call it that, but the first time I ever got here, I ran a 125cc shifter kart here with the Dart Kart Club.
Yeah.
And shout out to karters, because I want to say 2 weeks ago they were here.
Right.
I know there was the SVRA was here last week. One of the biggest karting events that we've had in a long, long time. Almost 1,000 entries.
No kidding.
Racing here in
Awesome.
the 125cc shifter class. I want to say there was over 80 karts in the shifter kart category. Yeah, the editor of my website, ekartingnews.com, David Cole, was here with his dad. They were racing here. Superkarts were here. Anything from 8 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engines to literally 120 horsepower superkarts were here, and an amazing weekend. But that's my first time I was here, was in a 125cc shifter, and 4 all the way back to 9. People say, wait till you try Madness, you're going to love it. And literally the rise, the blind corner.
Yep.
One of the beauties of this particular racetrack.
Exactly right. Yeah, we've talked about it before. There's a surprising amount of vertical here. There's 140 feet between the top of the keel, which is the highest point in the elevation, and the bottom of Thunder Valley.
And it's hard to see it on TV.
Yeah.
You're
not aware of it.
You kind of you see it a little bit when you come here trackside. You see it, but when you drive it or walk the track, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Coming out of turn 4, it's really hard to see on TV. Out of 4, back up to 5. You're climbing a hill back to 5,
exactly,
and then it falls all the way down back to 6. Again,
right.
One of the coolest corners. There it is, right there.
Yep.
Turn 4 and 5. You don't realize how much higher you're climbing coming back around over the hill. It's just
like I say, even this camera shot doesn't do it justice. It's just how much vertical there is there.
And when you have that kind of elevation change, the car gets really light on the top of the hill.
Sure.
It starts to rotate. That's why you'll see drivers get loose and start losing the rear of the car. Same thing coming over Madness and here turn number 9 into Thunder Valley. The car's just totally up off the dampers.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yep.
You're just tiptoeing around that corner again. Patience of getting back on the throttle. How many times have you seen a driver drop a wheel here and go off to the right side of the racetrack?
Exactly right. And we're back to green with 2.5 minutes remaining. About enough for a lap and a half, maybe 2 laps here, as we're coming to the closing moments of this first official practice session for the Cooper Tires USF 2000.
And we're going to give them a full run through the road to Indy right now. One of the beauties of coming to a weekend like this, folks, you get to see the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. This is single A, double A, and triple A baseball for you all on one weekend. We got Indy Pro coming up with their practice at 10:40, Indy Lights at 11:25 for their practice before we have a little bit of a break and coming back with the USF 2000 qualifying at 1:10. But a full run through, John, of the entire road to Indy.
Nice to see them all here. And we have stadium super trucks.
Yeah, and everybody loves the super trucks.
Everybody
we
loves
all
the
love
super
the super trucks. But nice to see them all here because last year, of course, we were here twice, but without Indy Lights. Indy Lights hiatus. I think we all felt the pain throughout the season.
Exactly.
Every race we went to, the Lights cars weren't here, and then to see the series come back, and then to see a team like Carlin come back into the series, and a couple years ago we had 7, 8 drivers in the series. 13 all season. I know that there's potentially a 14th car that could come, a 15th car that could come. And again, talking at the start of the show here about my work as the series development director, the amount of work I do behind the scenes, I haven't been this excited about Indy Lights in a lot of years because there are new teams coming. I know there is one team going to be announcing soon that they're joining the program. There's a couple other teams that are very, very seriously looking at it. We could have 16 to 18 cars in Indy Lights next year.
That's awesome.
It's just tremendous. A lot of interest from overseas as well.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Michael D'Orlando on top right now in the number 4. That's when the red flag came out. We're back to green. As John said, less than a minute to go. We'll see if anybody able to pip him at the end here. Christian Brooks in second. Jace Denmark third. Kiko Porto fourth. And Yuvan Sundaramurthy in 5th spot. Look at that rookie Jace Denmark punching above his weight level there. Right in between the heavy hitters, the veterans in D'Orlando, Brooks, Porto, and Sundaramurthy. all race winners in the series. Then you got Jace Denmark out of Arizona and Scottsdale just sitting there in P3.
That is so cool. And again, the parity is so great to see. You know, when you guys come back here in October for the season finale, I'm sure that the championship is still going to be very much up for grabs.
Oh, 100%.
There's no way anybody's going to have a stranglehold on it by the time they get to that point.
Unless somebody can step up and win all 3 races here and then go sweep at New Jersey Motorsports Park, those 3 races as well.
Right.
But I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
There's just too many good drivers right now in this program. D'Orlando, Brooks, Denmark, Porto, and Sundermurli top 5. Josh Pearson 6th. Matt Rangarito 7th. Nolan Siegel 8th. Jackson Lee 9th. His best showing so far. Really good performance here for Jackson Lee, a graduate of the Formula 1600 Championship Series, the FRP crew. And then Bejoy Garg as well in that 10th position. Drivers heading to pit lane. They've got the checkered flag, which they get, of course, folks, as they come out of turn number 9 down into Thunder Valley. That way the lap is done. They can come to pit lane. Not seeing any big moves here over this last little bit, so that's going to wrap things up. Michael D'Orlando will take the top time for Cape Motorsports, the New York driver, in the number 4, 122.050, 300ths quicker than Christian Brooks, and just over a 10th faster than Jace Denmark in the number 23, the rookie in the 3rd spot. D'Orlando, Brooks, Denmark, Porto, and Sundermurli, the fast 5 here for the first and only practice session for the drivers here in USF 2000. John, they'll be back on the racetrack at 1:10 this afternoon for qualifying.
And we will be back in about just about 12 minutes for the first practice session for the Indy Pro 2000 drivers as they take the track at 10:40. practice session just about to get underway. From 28 cars to 12 cars. It's a little more reasonable field for those of us who have old eyes and old brains to keep track of. But nonetheless, Rob Howden, the voice of the Cooper Tires Road to Indy, is with me here. And we're going to talk this time about the middle step in the rung of the three-step Road to Indy ladder, Indy Pro 2000.
Yeah, if you're a race fan,
Not hearing Rob. Okay. I'm going to hand my headset to Rob Howden.
Thank you, John. Just some technical issues here, trying to dial a couple things in here in the booth. We'll get that handled, of course, before we get to racing this afternoon. But again, as John said, 12 drivers in the Indy Pro 2000 program here presented by Cooper Tires, the second rung of our Road to Indy. And if you just watched the session for USF 2000, this is where the drivers go once they've become proficient, won some races, potentially a championship in USF. You make the move up into Indy Pro 2000. Basically the same chassis itself. The carbon monocoque tub built by Tatis in Italy is exactly the same, but everything else is just more tires, more braking, more horsepower. You go from 170 to 250 horsepower, significantly more downforce as well. This car is just more of everything, and you'll see that in the times. We got down to, I believe, a 122 flat, something like that for USF 2000. Watch what we'll see here. These drivers will be significantly quicker around this racetrack here. But one thing that is very similar is the level of talent that we have. The USF 2000 packed with young talent, both the rookies and the veteran drivers. Same thing here for USF 2000. The championship is unbelievable. And when I talk about the connection between USF 2000 and Indy Pro, all you have to do is look at the very top of the sheets right now, the point standings. Christian Rasmussen leading the points, just 18 points behind him is Braden Eves. Those two drivers, the last two USF 2000 champions. So Braden Eves winning the championship in 2019, and last year Christian Rasmussen winning the championship in our truncated season due to COVID. Didn't get started literally until the July 4th weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, or rather at Road America. Then Labor Day was Indianapolis, a couple of trips here to Mid-Ohio, New Jersey Motorsports Park, able to put a season together. And Christian Rasmussen was the champion in USF 2000. What was a really weird year. Came out of the gate, won, I think, 6 of the first 6 races, and just got in this tear. And then had trouble at Road America, had trouble here at Mid-Ohio. The championship points, which were once massive, shrinking down to just 3 markers. And then he was able to turn things back around and get back into it, and eventually scored the win and secured it before the finale, able to win at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Rasmussen, the leader right now, 4 wins on the season, a victory at St. Petersburg, 1 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, rather 2 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then was able to as well get the victory at Lucas Oil Raceway, wrapping it up with a win as well. 5 wins on the season, rather, as Road America the victory as well. And what a weekend at Road America for Christian Rasmussen. A huge wreck in turn number 3, 4 or 5 cars involved, a couple going over top of him, 2 drivers actually over top of him. He bounces back from that and gets the win on Sunday. Again, an 18-point lead over Braden Eves. Eves has been very good here at Mid-Ohio from nearby New Albany. And this is his home track, and has scored victories here in a number of different series. He'll look to get some wins to get back at it again here. He scored a win at the opening round of the season at Barber Motorsports Park, and then at St. Petersburg as well. It's been a steady run since, 3 podiums, a bunch of top 5 finishes. He's on a top 5 run now at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the GP weekend, middle of May, second, and third. 4th at Lucas Oil Raceway, 4th in the first race at Road America, and 4th in the second. So a run of 4th place finishes right now. Braden Eves is going to want to go back to the top of the box. Won here last year as well, as did his teammate Exclusive Autosport, Artem Petrov. Last year, Petrov with Juncos Racing. But the storyline, if we're going to kind of key a little bit on Braden Eves being the local driver here, was that big wreck that he had at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Coming out of turn number 11, left rear suspension folded under. He flipped upside down and actually injured his neck and has had a pretty bad wreck that put him on the sidelines for the remainder of the season, but finally able to get back at it later in the year. Got him behind the wheel of a kart, did some karting, and then jumped back behind the wheel of his Exclusive Autosports Indy Pro machine and was able to get some testing in, and really he was able to bounce back. And to get that win at Barber Motorsports Park, first round of the season, really changed things for Braden Eves in a championship fight, trying to work his way to the Indy Lights Series with that scholarship, which will go to our champion. Eve's teammate Artem Petrov has been impressive as well, scoring his first win of the season at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's had some up and down results. Second at Road America before an incident early on in race number 2 there. Contact with Kiffin Simpson in turn 5 dropped him down to 11th, so he's 56 points back. But I would not count out Artem Petrov for the championship. Really 4 drivers in the championship fight right now. We can throw Hunter Macare and Manuel Suleiman in there as well. They'll need to step up here this weekend to get some big points to try to close back up on Christian Rasmussen. But the other driver's super impressive, just 16 years of age, Rhys Gold out of Miami, Florida, 2 years in USF 2000. He was 14 his opening year, 15 in his second year. He's a rookie here, just 16 years of age with Juncos Racing, has not yet won, but the consistency for him has been impressive. Only one finish outside the top 10, and to be honest, only one finish outside the top 6, as he has been very impressive. 4 or 5 different podium finishes, one at St. Petersburg, one at Barber Motorsports Park, 2 podiums, a third and a second at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Challenged Christian Rasmussen on the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway all race long, made a last-ditch effort in the final lap to get by. Rasmussen incredibly aggressive in his defense on that one. Some contact in 3 and 4. He gets the win, but again, I think overall, Rhys Gold probably got a lot of fans in the grandstands there as he was relentless in his pressure. Ends up finishing second, follows it up with a 5th and a 2nd at Road America. He's just 36 points back. You think about that, too. 16 years of age. He would be 17 years old, just old enough to be able to get into Indy Lights. You have to be, I want to say you have to be, I think you have to be 18, but it's the way the thing works backwards from being, when you turn 18 at a certain time, you can potentially just get into it. He may not even be able to go to Indy Lights next year unless he gets some kind of special dispensation, but he has been so impressive this year. There's a level of maturity in this young driver. I've been fortunate through the work I do in karting to watch him come up through the cadet ranks when he was 7, 8, 9, 10 years of age. And there was a maturity there as well. There was this calmness in young Rhys Gold. I remember one race, and I want to say it might have been a Rotax Grand National event, or it might have been a Supercarts USA Pro Tour, something like that, where he, I want to say, started something like 35th or 40th or something, and came all the way through to either win or finish second. It was an unbelievable drive forward. And at that level of competition, it takes focus. It takes maturity. Even in a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, you have to be able to have that, number one, the aggression, but number 2, the decisive nature to make the passes when they're right. And Rhys has been impressive. Up on top right now, P1, Rhys Gold in the 55, the white and green machine for Juncos Racing. Rhys Gold out of Florida, as I said, a 118.793. His first ever Road to Indy victory came here at Mid-Ohio last year in USF 2000. Jacob Abel in the second spot for Abel Motorsports. It's been a pretty cool couple of weeks, 3 weeks for Jacob Abel, able to get on the podium in Indy Pro here at Road America. A win last weekend in the FR America Series as well. Jacob was very strong last weekend, running with Newman Walks Racing with Abel Motorsports. So the Abel Motorsports crew, John Bruner, the team manager there, they have really, that team, a one-car effort, really starting to step up. Jacob's former teammate Parker Thompson coaching him in between his Road to Indy TV duties. I think for me, the kind of the emerging star, I think, for the first half of the season. We've seen race wins, Christian Rasmussen, as I said, Braden Eves, Hunter Macare, Manuel Suleiman, Artem Petrov all scoring wins. But Jacob Abel's just got quicker and quicker and more confident throughout this mid part of the season. I'd love to see him potentially challenge for a race win this year. That'd be exciting. Gold P1 right now. Abel in second, Artem Petrov in third, Manuel Suleiman in fourth spot. Kiffin Simpson, just 16 years of age, out of the Cayman Islands for Juncos Racing. Simpson, another top driver from American Karting, moving in here to the Road to Indy, number 21 P5. Wyatt Prokachek, first year in the series, only second year on the Road to Indy, ran with Jay Howard last year in USF 2000, making the big jump up to Indy Pro this year. He's P6 right now. Hunter Macare in the 7th spot, winner last year at the final round of the season in St. Petersburg for Pabst Racing 7th. Jack William Miller 8th, Braden Eves 9th, James Rowe Jr. for Turn 3 Motorsports in 10th, Hunter Yaney for Velocity Racing Development in 11th. And down there, 7 seconds off the pace so far, Christian Rasmussen just kind of taking it easy, only 3 laps in. He's been doing a bunch of in and out laps. Back on the throttle here again is Christian Rasmussen. He will not be back there for long. 9 minutes into this session. Still 21 to go. Those of you watching online, there's a great shot coming out of the carousel onto the front straightaway here at Mid-Ohio. Again, Mid-Ohio, the spiritual home of our partner Cooper Tires. Always great to be here. John had mentioned the new pavilion that got built over there as well in turn number 1. So we're excited to welcome a number of guests of Cooper Tires to join us here. One of our other partners as well is VP Racing Fuels, the exclusive fuel supplier for all 3 levels of the Road Dandy. In 2021, VP expanded their role, and they are also the official lubricant and coolant of the Road Dandy. In addition to the VP Racing engine oil and VP Racing gear oil, this includes VP Racing's new line of Stay Frosty performance engine coolants. Fully formulated engine coolants that provide great heat transfer in order to remain cool, prevent overheating, and allow performance at optimal levels. Great to have VP Racing Fuels as an expanded partner with the Road Dandy, presented by Cooper Tires here in 2021. We'll definitely be leveraging the Cooper Tire stage, which is right across from the Cooper Tire Hospitality Center, just on the exit of turn number 1. I've got a Q&A, a question and answer with a couple of Juncos racing drivers today. Stingray Rob and Toby Sowery, their Indy Lights pilots, will be joining me at 2:15 in the Cooper Tire stage, so come on by for that one. On Saturday, I'll have Braden Eves of Exclusive Autosport and Christian Rasmussen of J. Howard Driver Development. That's set for 1:20, a Q&A there. I'll ask the questions, but if you have any questions as well, we'd love to get questions from those of you who are trackside. And then on Sunday, right around 11:05, we're going to get started with all the winners of our USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, Indy Lights races from Sunday. Parker Thompson, the host of Road to Indy TV, will be handling that Q&A. There's lots of action happening here trackside. Indy Pro 2000 has a race on Saturday and a race on Sunday, as does Indy Lights. USF 2000 will start their triple header later on today. Again, looking at the championship points here, Christian Rasmussen coming in with an 18-point lead over Braden Eves. Braden, a consistent run at Road America, a couple of fourth-place finishes. Was not able to get to the podium, but 2 fourths. And Christian Rasmussen, 10th after that wreck in race 1 and coming back to get that victory in race number 2. Started on the inside of row number 2, P3, and was able to take advantage of a mid-race full-course caution to slip by Rhys Gold and then pull away enough to take the victory there. 5 wins for Christian Rasmussen on the season. He's going to be chasing Kyle Kirkwood, I think, too. Kirkwood right now, Kyle, of course, winning the championship in USF 2000, winning the title as well at Indy Pro, and now in his first year of Indy Lights. 25 wins in total in his history. Just 2.5 years, able to eclipse the mark of 24 set by Spencer Piggott. Spencer, of course, 5 years in the series before making the move after winning the 2015 Indy Lights Championship. So Kyle Kirkwood, the new all-time win leader in Road Indy competition, but I have a feeling that Christian Rasmussen could be a guy to challenge that. I believe, I want to say 11 victories, I think, for Christian in USF 2000. Add the 5 now, so he's at 16, I believe, right now. We'll get that confirmation from somebody better at stats than me. But 5 wins already of the season for Christian, 2 wins for Braden Eves, a victory for Petrov, 1 for Hunter McElroy, and 1 for Manuel Suleiman, who won the opening round at Road America. Manuel for Juncos Racing qualifying on pole for both of those races. Qualifying here this weekend, I believe, much more important than it was at Road America. Yeah, you get that bonus point for qualifying on pole, but that track a little more wide open, longer straightaways, harder braking, some really hard braking corners. It's a much different character than the one you have here at Mid-Ohio. The undulations, the elevation changes, some of the off-camber corners. A little harder to set up a pass here, but when you do it, it's magic. You see some drivers can make passes in the carousel, some at the bottom out of turn 5 down to turn 6. Biggest opportunities, of course, though, into the keyhole, turn number 2, and then, of course, down the long straightaway into turn number 4. The beauty of turn 4 is that if the opening is on the inside, you can pass on the inside. If the driver defends to the inside, you can still pass on the outside, go deep around the outside, get the car turned, and you'll have that inside line going into turn number 5. Shot right here, you can see as Hunter Yaney negotiating through 4 and 5. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, one of the absolutely coolest complexes of corners in all of American motorsports, in my opinion. The off-camber nature, the blind corners. Blind over Madness, turn number 7, and blind up over 9 as well. Into Thunder Valley, and then coming out of Thunder Valley, another blind corner coming back up over the hill to the carousel. Braden Eves now to the top of the charts. Again, local driver out of New Albany, Ohio, in the number 91 for Exclusive Autosport. P1 here by almost 2/10 over his good friend Jacob Abel. Artem Petrov in third. Christian Rasmussen back up now into the hunt, P4. Hunter McElroy fifth. Jack William Miller sixth. Rhys Gold seventh. James Rowe Jr. eighth. Wyatt Prokopchik in ninth. Hunter Yaney 10th. Manuel Suleiman and Kiffin Simpson round out the dozen drivers we have here this weekend in Indy Pro 2000. And just like USF, not a great day in terms of testing yesterday. We had a full day of testing lined up, but the weather did not cooperate. A number of issues throughout the test session with rain and downpour of rain, to be honest. So this is really a good indication of the speed we're seeing out of these drivers now before we head into qualifying. Qualifying set to go for the Indy Pro 2000 drivers, 1:45 this afternoon. So they'll get a couple hours, 3 hours before they're back out here on the racetrack. And the interesting thing, as we all know, Mid-Ohio changes quite a bit throughout the day with the weather and rubber going down. So it'll be a much different racetrack when they get out here as well. Indy Lights will have another one of their first practice session. They started the day off with an unofficial test. But the one and only official practice for Indy Lights at 10:25. USF 2000 qualifying to come at 1:10 as well. Stadium Super Trucks will be out on track at 12:25. Braden Eves, though, still on top of the 118.1435. 11 laps in the books. Eves with the most laps completed of any of the drivers so far. Yesterday's afternoon session, the third session, was absolutely doused with rain. Only two drivers taking to the racetrack, Artem Petrov and Braden Eves. Eves went off in turn number 12, the carousel, on the outlap. It was just that treacherous, so that session was really essentially squashed for any driver. So they could have got a lot more testing in. They did not. This practice crucial for these drivers here today. Rasmussen up to P3, able to get a little quicker than Artem Petrov. Not by much, 0.03 of a second, separating third and fourth. Manuel Suleiman now up into the 7th position. Jack William Miller in the Miller Terry Motorsports, red number 40. Out of Carmel, Indiana, looking for a breakout weekend. Jack William Miller currently sitting 12th in the points. 6th place finish at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway coming as his best of the year. 3 straight 9th place finishes in the last 3 races. Did not start race number 2 at Road America. If you're a Road to Indy and Indy Pro 2000 fan, you've probably seen some of the in-car or some of the video that circulated after the event on Saturday. Christian Rasmussen trying the outside of Rhys Gold coming through turn number 3 down the hill and to turn 3 the right-hander at Road America. And the outside's not a place to be. Probably not the right place to be for Christian. Contact with right front to left rear on Gold. Rhys Gold able to continue, but Rasmussen goes into a spin, and with nowhere to go, Jack William Miller drove over top of him and went into a barrel roll. Significant damage to the car and not able to get it fixed for race number 2, but good to see him back here again. New race car, ready to get back at it. And Jack William Miller currently sitting 8th position. Rasmussen bringing that red, white, and blue machine down pit lane. The Road to Indy Scholarship colors. Stingray Robb, of course, running the design in the Indy Lights Series, last year's Indy Pro 2000 champion. And again, as John and I spoke with, we only have the one microphone right now, so John and I can't go back and forth on it, but we will later. This, again, one of those turning point races. At this racetrack itself. When we were here last year, Stingray Robb in his 49th Indy Pro 2000 start, able to get his first win, use the momentum, use the confidence of that victory here at Mid-Ohio to storm his way through to a championship, and was able to clinch the title before the end of the season, like Christian Rasmussen, clinching at New Jersey Motorsports Park before we capped off the season at St. Petersburg in October. Eves, Abel, Petrov, Rasmussen, and Simpson now your top 5. Kiffin Simpson in the number 21, just 16 years of age. A third-place finish on the podium at Road America, moving him to 8th spot in the points. Third right now in the rookie standings, but you almost got to say it's a little bit of a little unfair because here he is as a rookie. His first year in the Road to Indy, jumps right into Indy Pro, and he's battling against Christian Rasmussen and Braden Eves for the rookie championships. Both those drivers, rookies, going to be trying to race for the championship, and he's battling with those two USF 2000 champs. So, all in all, though, it's been a really impressive season for Kiffin Simpson. I really hope we see him back in Indy Pro next year because he's a talent. And only going to get better. Second year, drivers always more comfortable. They know the racetrack. So much the experience pays off when you're a second-year driver in the series. Rasmussen, a great example of that in USF 2000. Won 3 races the year before, back in 2019, the season that Braden Eves scored his title. But second half of the season, Rasmussen getting 3 victories, then was able to turn that into a massive streak of wins to start the 2020 season. He just rolled in with so much confidence and momentum from the season before, and even with the stoppage and the delay due to COVID before we were able to get rolling at Road America in early July last year, he just came out of the gate with a hammer and was able to win 7 races to start the season. Braden Eves still on top right now, though, 118.145. 9 minutes remaining in the session. And it would be a confidence booster for sure for Eves to be able to bring home a P1 spot here and look for that P1 qualifying. 600s quicker than Jacob Abel. Jack William Miller now to P3. And again, very similar situation tire-wise here for drivers in Indy Pro. 3 sets for the 5 sessions. Practice, 1 qualifying, or rather 2 qualifying, and 2 races. So tire strategy, interesting. No one's going fresh rubber in this particular session here, I believe, especially with the test we had yesterday. Had it been maybe different, had it been dry all day long, I don't know that we'll see anybody do a qualifying simulation here just to get a feel for what it's like. Several teams have tested here. So 3 sets. The set they're on right now, a carryover from Road America. Indy Light's a little different. Their carryover set actually coming from the event at Detroit, on the streets of Detroit, because a different compound and a different tire construction by Cooper for what we use at Road America. That track has so many long duration corners, heavy load corners, that the tire construction a little bit different to deal with the massive heat that gets built with those long runs like coming through the carousel where you really lay on that tire. So it's kind of a one-off event for that particular compound and construction. James Rowe Jr. up to P4 as well. Make that P5 now as Hunter McElroy's put the Pabst Racing number 18 to P3. Jack William Miller in 4th and James Rowe Jr. for Turn 3 Motorsports in the Topcon Trintec machine. P5 for the Irishman. 6th place at Road America, the best finish on the season for James Rowe. He's P5 on the order now, ahead of Artem Petrov and Rasmussen. Rhys Gold will bring the machine in here. The Ticket Clinic Juncos Racing Tatis PM18. Again, folks, if you want to follow all the action on the Road to Indy, download the free Road to Indy app at the Apple Store for iPhones and Google Play for Android mobile phones and tablets. All the content that gets produced by the Road to Indy and Road to Indy TV is available on the app, as well as live streaming, whether it's audio or mostly video. Normally when we have it, we're live streaming video of all our sessions throughout the season. Great way to keep up on the Road to Indy if you can't be trackside. So download the Road to Indy TV app today. Again, we're excited to welcome all the guests this weekend from Findlay, Ohio-based Cooper Tires, longtime partner of the Road to Indy, a tremendous supporter of drivers climbing the ladder to the NTT IndyCar Series. And, of course, look around the track here, and you can see it. Cooper Tires is the official tire of the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. John and I, of course, announcing here from the Cooper Tire Tower. Less than 6 minutes remaining. Fuel load starting to get down on these cars. Lighter is faster. Artem Petrov now on top out of St. Petersburg, Russia. Coming into the weekend, I knew that Petrov would be a driver to watch. Won here last year with Juncos Racing, and a tremendously talented pilot from Russia. Exclusive Autosport this year alongside Braden Eves, veteran engineer John Hayes managing that side of Exclusive's program, and they've been very good. Petrov and Eves, I would expect to be battling each other here for the race wins. We'll throw all the regulars in there as well. Throw Rhys Gold in there, McElray, Rasmussen, all with an opportunity to be good here. But Petrov and Eves, both winners here last year in the triple header we had, one of the triple header weekends. And again, for him, great place to come when you know you're a little behind right now. He's 56 points behind in the championship standings, but to a track that you've had success on before, that's always good for confidence. Drivers working their way for turn 7 and turn 8. Back turn 9 that drops into Thunder Valley, as John had said earlier, the lowest part of the racetrack here. Back up at over turn 10, the rise of turn 11, the blind left-hander. And, of course, into turn 12, the carousel. Another corner where you have to be so patient for rolling on the throttle. Get back up through the final corners onto the front straightaway here. Petrov, Miller, Eves, Abel, and McElray current Fast 5 with just about 4 minutes remaining in this lone practice session for the Indy Pro 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires. I'd expect a number of these drivers will make the graduation jump up to Indy Lights for 2022. One of them is going to do it with a scholarship, though, that's for sure. Over $700,000 up for grabs for the Indy Pro 2000 champion. Not only that, but new for this year, that champion will join the top 3 in Indy Lights for an IndyCar test at the end of the season as well. So even though the Indy Pro 2000 champion is still a couple steps away, or 1 step away from getting to IndyCar, they'll get a chance to test the car, and to be able to get into a car of an IndyCar team owner and be able to potentially impress them a year ahead of when you could potentially get there, I think it's such a huge opportunity. And again, we're very pleased with our partnership with the NTT IndyCar Series and all that they bring to the table. And we do our best. Beauty of this weekend, 9 drivers of the 26 in this weekend's NTT IndyCar Series event have come out of the Indy Lights program since 2015. Of course, the most new that we're excited about, a driver from Ohio as well. Flying Ryan Norman will make his NTT IndyCar Series debut. He's had great success here in Indy Lights. I look back at one event where he finished second to Oliver Askew and ahead of Rinus VK. That's a pretty good resume coming in, and he'll run with Dale Coyne Racing this weekend. Excited to see what Ryan's going to be able to do. I think he's going to be impressive right out of the gate, to be honest. But the other drivers, of course, throughout the Colton Hurtas, the Pato Awards, Felix Rosenquist, Jack Harvey, Rinus VK, drivers that have come out of the program. Dalton Kellett, of course, as well for AJ Foyt Racing. Well, he was the very tail of the field for the first 5 minutes. He's now P1. Christian Rasmussen, your point leader, laying down a 118.059. Rasmussen to P1 by just 100th of a second over Artem Petrov, and immediately coming into pit lane with the 2 minutes to go. That may be it. I wonder whether or not one of these drivers potentially did a qualifying sim or not. Rasmussen 118.0. Same for Petrov. 118.1 for Miller. 118.1 for Eves. 118.1 for McElray. But we'll change things up when Artem Petrov lays down a 117.8. 118 flat, 118.1 for everybody but Artem. The number 42 exclusive Autosport driver just rolled out a 117.836, 2/10 faster than Christian Rasmussen. No points up for grabs in practice, but you make a statement for sure, especially at a track where the pole position is so crucial. I'll tell you, for me, the story in the top 5 right now is Jack William Miller. Barrel rolls in race 1 at Road America, doesn't run race number 2. They had to put the car back together for him to get here this weekend. That was just 2 weeks ago. He's P3. First-year driver in Indy Pro 2000, Jack William Miller in the number 40. Miller Hereditary Motorsport machine now in third, 118.106. 400s behind Rasmussen. Ahead of Eves, ahead of McAray, ahead of Abel. Seconds clicking away here. We'll see the checkered flag here in Thunder Valley momentarily. As, again, the alternate start-finish line or timing line down on the exit of turn number 9. That way drivers can get that lap in the books, see the checker, and then come into pit lane. The 3 of James Rowe Jr. is in here as well. 8th position for James. Indeed, the checker flag will be shown to the drivers now. We are done. Session over. The 42 of Artem Petrov comes in. P1 right now, 117.836. Artem's a young driver you'll want to meet if you can, because he has that Russian stoicism, but there's that little smirk, that little twinkle in his eyes. He's a really cool kid, cool young man, and great to have him here in the program. Race winner already this year, and definitely will be challenging for wins here this weekend. Artem Petrov in the 42 up top. Jacob Abel, last lap of 117.9, 700th behind. Jacob throwing his name in the hat for this weekend as well. I said coming off a win last weekend. Abel in the 51. P2, Rasmussen 3rd, Miller 4th, Eves 5th. 3/10, less than 4/10 separating the top 8 drivers. Yeah. And then how about a half a second separating the top 10? Prokachik 7/10 back, Yaney 9/10 back. Half a second, top 10 drivers. Here's your top 5, though, to cap things off. Artem Petrov for Exclusive Autosport, the fastest driver in this practice session, the one and only practice session for Indy Pro 2000, 117.836. Jacob Abel for Abel Motorsports in second. Christian Rasmussen driving for Jay Howard Driver Development, P3, champion in USF 2000 last year and current point leader. Jack William Miller out of Indiana in the number 40 in 4th spot. Braden Eves in 5th. Then we've got Hunter McAray, Manuel Suleiman, Kiffin Simpson 8th, Rhys Gold 9th, James Rowe Jr. in 10th, Wyatt Prokachik 11th, and Hunter Yaney rounding out the 12 drivers in the field. Indy Pro 2000 will be back on the racetrack 1:45 this afternoon for qualifying for race number 1, which will take place on Saturday. Race 2 on Sunday. And the action will continue. Indy Lights drivers getting set to go here as well. They'll roll onto the racetrack here at 11:25. Still about 14 minutes from now, but there you go, folks. Artem Petrov, 117.836. Jacob Abel, Christian Rasmussen 3rd. Jack William Miller, Braden Eves, and Hunter McAray round out the top 6 drivers in this qualifying run. Artem Petrov will head to pit lane and head to the paddock, knowing that they got a pretty good hot rod heading into qualifying later on this morning. Lots more to come here, folks. Mid-Ohio, blue skies, bit of cloud, and the road to Indy will continue. From an exciting weekend at the hard-breaking and long straightaway facility at Road America, we come to one of the most beautiful natural terrain road courses here in America, Mid-Ohio, the undulating racetrack, 13 corners. The elevation change is incredible. Welcome, folks, to the Indy Lights coverage here on the IndyCar Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden, joined in the Cooper Tire booth and in the tower here by the voice of Mid-Ohio, Mr. John Phippen. John, Indy Lights getting set to go. We already had USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000 on the racetrack. We've got 13 drivers set to go here. The championship really starting to come together here in 2021.
Exactly right. I am so excited about this championship because there's two drivers that I've been following basically throughout their careers that are head-to-head here. Both former champions of the Formula Regional America Series, Kyle Kirkwood in 2019, and the reigning champion, of course, Linus Lundqvist. And they are in the top three, in fact, tied going into this round here. Only 8 points back of David Malucas, who is the points leader. But these three guys are just going to carry the thing right down to the wire. And I'm so looking forward to this battle right down to the last races of the season, which fortunately will be back here at Mid-Ohio.
Indeed, we're back here for the cancellation race of Toronto, back here the first weekend of October for the finale for the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. But you bring up Linus Lundqvist and Kyle Kirkwood. 5 championships in total between those drivers. Linus Lundqvist, like you said, winning the scholarship through the FRA Americas program to come and run here Indy Lights this year. Kyle Kirkwood has won everything he's raced.
Yep.
He's an F4 and an F3 champion, a USF 2000 and an Indy Pro 2000 champion. This kid is looking for his 5th championship, and he would be the first driver to run through, sweep all the way through the Road to Indy to try to get to IndyCar, winning all those scholarships. Of course, on the scholarship this year, we have 2 scholarship drivers in Indy Lights. So, of course, with the hiatus for Indy Lights last year, Kyle Kirkwood was essentially on the bench. Did some sports car racing, no open wheel racing. A number of other drivers went to other directions. So we have both Kyle Kirkwood, the 2019 Indy Pro 2000 champion, and Stingray Robb, the 2020 Indy Pro 2000 champion. And that is what's been kind of, I think, a little bit part of the resurgence of Indy Lights coming in to the 2021 season here. We're on hiatus, so we really have essentially 2 graduating classes of drivers coming in, 13 drivers this year, and a ton of momentum for the series as well.
Linus Lundqvist has not had a good start to his day because he put it off into the to the tire barrier outside of the carousel turn to bring basically an end to this morning's test session, and now we understand he's off up at the keyhole turn, and that has brought out our first red flag.
So immediately to red with the driver off in the keyhole, as John had said, we got some information here from IndyCar Race Control. Linus Lundqvist, wow, and for Linus, it's a pretty solid season thus far. A number of podiums, I think 6 different podiums, a couple of race wins. He's kind of been going back and forth with one of his teammates at HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group, David Malucas. David, of course, did the point leader. But as John had said, a red flag already. This is, and we'll set the stage, the one and only practice session of the weekend, although they had a 90-minute test session earlier today. So they were on track bright and early this morning, 10 after 8. We're able to get a lot of track time in, everyone dialing things in. But now they come to this particular race here, or this session here, and just like USF 2000 and Indy Pro, with a limited amount of tires for the entire weekend, they have 4 sets for essentially practice, 2 qualifying, and 2 races. The way drivers have used those sets really has played into some race wins. Kyle Kirkwood benefited by not going to fresh rubber in qualifying. He had a fresh set of tires at Detroit, where other drivers had used their tires. The same thing is the case here. Only 4 sets of tires for this practice session, John, though they're using a carryover set from Detroit, not from the last weekend at Road America.
We understand there were 2 cars involved in that incident up at the keyhole. Alex Peroni was the other, but he was able to continue and got back into the pits. There he is now.
Yeah, just roll by us here. I don't see any damage on the race car, the 79 of David Malucas coming in. But, yeah, no damage on Peroni, who was actually pretty good earlier today. It was interesting in a 90-minute session. Towards the end of that session when we saw drivers really start stepping things up. Alex Peroni had just gone out on sticker tires to get that, that test run, that qualifying simulation, just on the racetrack when Linus went off. So kind of scrubbed him off a little bit, didn't get to maximize the tires in what was, I think, 2 or 3 minutes remaining in the session when we went back to green.
Yeah, in the early part of the session, Alex was atop the order and was for quite a while, actually. But then the heavy hitters began to really turn up the wick later in the session. Kyle Kirkwood in that test session was quickest with a 1:12.1587. In fact, we had nobody in the 12s until the last couple of minutes, and the top 5 all ended up being in the 1:12s before it was all over.
Awesome to see the fans start rolling into the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. I know a lot of you are camping here as well. We say hello to those of you who are around the racetrack right now, maybe in one of the fantastic viewing areas around the facility. Again, taking an opportunity to say hello and a happy Friday to those of you who are tuning in on the Road to Indy TV app. And, of course, John, as we said from the top of the show here on Sirius as well. David Malucas comes in as the point leader, 8 markers ahead of Linus Lundqvist and Kyle Kirkwood, tied, as John said earlier. Toby Sowery currently in the 4th spot. Toby really looking for a breakout weekend. He had a good run there in the middle of Indianapolis and Detroit, a couple of podium finishes. But after a 5th-place run at Road America in the opening round, he ends up with contact in Turn 6 with Toby Sowery at DNF 13th there. He needs, for Juncos Racing, really needs a breakout weekend. He needs to come in here and be able to, at the very least, podium. Hopefully, if it works for him, a couple of race wins. I know everybody else is going to fight him on that. But for Sowery to get back in the points, now 64 markers back, he needs a couple of wins here, John.
Exactly right. And right behind him in the points, 5th, Robert Mcginnis. Again, coming off a pretty strong weekend at Road America.
It was his breakout weekend for me, I think. You know, Robert's, of course, a veteran driver here in the Indy Lights, has been through the entire Road to Indy as well. 2 years ago, running with Andretti Autosport, of course, was on the bench as well last year, did some sports car racing. But really for him to be able to come back like he did, and the beauty of it is a 3rd place, a 3rd place finish from 8th in race number 1 at Road America. To see him storming through like that, we did have an incident at the start, but man, he was an absolute bear coming through, and a couple of really good finishes for Robert. You could see how happy he was. We got a replay that we're going to have a look at here, folks. It's the best we can. Yeah, I like this here coming into the corner. There's Linus Lundqvist. Looks like he just went off by himself. Yeah, so Linus overcooking it. We talked about a 2-driver incident, so potentially the same thing happened for Peroni. Well, you can see that Linus just potentially overcooked the brakes, or maybe something happened coming into the corner, but kind of mid-corner, John, and just kind of pushed off into the gravel and into the barriers.
Yeah, same thing that happened here at the carousel turn. I thought he just left his braking a little too late coming off turn 11 and got off into the grass. And, yeah, there goes Peroni.
Peroni actually off the same way, like he almost did the same thing. I'm sure that IndyCar Control will have a look to see whether or not there's some oil or fluid on the racetrack to have 2 drivers go off like that, but everybody else kind of came through cleanly, like it could have just been a couple issues with over-braking into that corner. And remember, cold tires as well to start the session.
Absolutely, yes. So it doesn't appear that those 2 had contact, so that's a good thing. And we're back on there. We've got cars back on track.
And indeed, 66 degrees here, John.
Yes.
So it's not like it's a 55-degree morning where potentially you're going to be out there and having trouble. 66 degrees, a mixture of sun and cloud here trackside. Right now, the track temperature right at about 91.4 degrees. So starting to come up from what it was earlier today. But again, listen, let's talk about it. USF 2000, 170 horsepower, 250 for Indy Pro. These guys have got 450 at the rear wheels. So there is a lot more torque. And, of course, the turbo spools up as well. You can have some issues there. So drivers, again, just got to be a little ginger here, getting some heat built into these Cooper tires. Yeah,
these guys here at Mid-Ohio are about 8 or 9 seconds a lap quicker than the Indy Pro 2000 cars. So it's a big step, no question about it. And it's good preparation because you know what the next step is the NTT IndyCar Series.
Well, and that's just it. Throughout our entire Road to Indy, not only, obviously one of the big things is our scholarship program that allows drivers to move up with it's unparalleled, the support we give. But the performance of each car is designed specifically to train the driver to move forward.
Right.
Bigger braking, more braking capability. The aero downforce is a lot more. So everything you do, every step you take gets you prepared to go IndyCar racing. And again, the Tatis cars for USF 2000 Indy Pro, we go to the Dallara for Indy Lights. You can take your Indy Lights seat right out of your Dallara Indy Lights car and slide it right into the
Don't
Indy
even
car.
have to have a new seat fitted.
That's it. We're ready to go. Our drivers are ready to go IndyCar racing whenever you want. And again, like I said, 9 drivers who graduated from Indy Lights from 2015 to 2019. Of course, no series last year. So during that 2015 to 2019 window, we have 9 drivers in the race here this particular weekend. I mentioned Colton Hurd already, Pato Award, Renus VK. You got to bring up Max Chilton, Dalton Kellett, Ed Jones as well, Jack Harvey, Felix Rosenquist, and for this weekend here, a driver who has been on the podium before at Mid-Ohio and Indy Lights, Ryan Norman, will make his IndyCar debut here this weekend. We're thrilled to see him. Obviously a race winner at both Portland and at Worldwide Technology Raceway. That amazing side-by-side battle with Colton Hurda. Ryan Norman getting a well-deserved opportunity. He's tested before, but getting an opportunity to go wheel-to-wheel racing in IndyCar. I'm thrilled for him.
And I know it has a lot to do with the hiatus from last year, but as you look at this 13-car field, 10 of them are rookies.
And that's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
A lot of drivers have moved on into sports cars, up to IndyCar, like we said. Rhys VK making the move. The rookie crop here is strong. What I love about it is, because we have so many rookies, it means we're very likely going to have a lot of returnees next year. I really believe we're going to see 16 to 18 cars next year in Indy Lights. There's a couple new teams coming in as well. More news on that's going to come out over the next couple of months, and I'm really excited for Indy Lights. There just seems to be a lot of momentum. The opportunity to go to Indy Lights, the realistic opportunity from Indy Lights to IndyCar, so much higher than F2 to F1. It's just the realism of the program. The affordability of the series. This car debuted in 2015, and the car and the AER engine, everything we have has been dialed in to the point where it's got so much reliability right now. We installed the Halo-type devices on the cars. Kudos to Tony Cotman on managing that program, because I think I didn't think I was going to like it, John.
Right.
We're doing the Halo. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to like it. Then the first race I got to, I went, these cars are beautiful.
Yeah.
And the way that the halo of our cars kind of melds right into the top of the bodywork at the back of the layout there, I just love it. I think they look fantastic. And you know what? For a lot of drivers, especially those in Europe, they want that halo. They want the extra level of safety, and I understand it completely. We're going to have it in USF 2000 and Indy Pro next year as well. But that's just part of the things that have made this car and this program so attractive, and it's getting the momentum I think it deserves.
You know, and talking about drivers coming over from Europe, we were talking about Linus Lindquist. In addition to his great season last year in Formula Regional Americas, he also is a British Formula 3 champion.
Yeah.
So he brings a pretty stout resume.
It's a solid pedigree
exactly.
for Linus. And, you know, the great thing is I hadn't had a chance to meet him until earlier this year at spring training. What a great young man as well.
Yeah.
He's got such a fantastic personality. And as we know, an absolute wheelman as well. Came out of the gate super strong. Did Linus Lundqvist winning the very first race of the year, first and second at Barber Motorsports Park, followed up with another win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's interesting, John. Barber, he comes in first and second. Your mind's like, this guy swept, like this guy dominated last year in FR.
He won 8 in a row.
Is he going to dominate here too? Is he going to come in here? But then, we're all like, listen, hold on.
Yeah.
We've got some talented drivers here now. David Malucas has been a strongly developing driver, another driver who has matured greatly over the last couple of years. You throw Kyle Kirkwood in there. Personally, I think the biggest thing for Kyle was he didn't drive an open-wheel formula car in 2020.
Exactly.
He did a bunch of IMSA racing, but I think almost had to get back understanding of how the dynamics of that car work again.
Get that mindset.
I really do, because then he, of course, has gone on a bit of a run. He won at St. Petersburg, then went on that streak of 3 wins, dominating the action at Detroit, and then scoring essentially a runaway win at Road America in round number 1, and then, of course, had the issue with, I want to say the camber spacer or something like that in the left front of the car while running well.
And then got back in the race and set fast lap on the, in the process. So, it's all coulda, woulda, shoulda kind of thing. But he admitted in a post-race interview that in his entire Road to Indy career, that's the first mechanical failure he's had.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
All-time winner in the Road to Indy. And the funny thing is, that race, he'd never been ever beaten at Road America either. In Road to Indy action, won both races in USF 2000, swept the action in Indy Pro, won the first race at
by 11
in
seconds.
Indy Lights, exactly. And we're like, this kid's gonna go undefeated here.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, the first mechanical he had, and you know what? That's not even on Kyle Kirkwood. A little bit on Kyle Kirkwood for taking care of the car.
Sure.
But that's on Cape Motorsports and USF 2000 and RP Motorsports and Indy Pro. They were able to prepare cars for him that were flawless through both of his seasons. So kudos to both of those teams.
Of course, he stepped up to Andretti this year, one of the 3-car Andretti team here this weekend, and they are very strong indeed. So looking forward to this weekend. We're riding along with Robert Mcginnis in the 27 car. He is currently 4th quickest in this session, a 1:14.12. Kyle Kirkwood is the quickest at a 1:13.616, about a quarter of a second out in front of Toby Sowery in the 51 machine. Toby in the Juncos racing car out of Cambridge in England. David Malucas, the points leader, currently 3rd quick. He's another quarter of a second back as now David Malucas goes to the top of the charts. Toby Sowery goes to 2nd. Kyle Kirkwood shuffled back to 3rd with Stingray Robb in the top 4.
They like to mess with us, John. The minute you start giving us the top 10, that's when the drivers go out and lay down a magic lap. And they seem to like to do that. You mentioned 3 drivers at Andretti Autosport, really 4, because there's 3 Andretti Autosport, and then the Andretti Steinbrenner Autosport program for Devlin DiFrancesco as well. George Steinbrenner, the fourth, of course, a huge player in motorsports now, big with the Andretti Autosport team, but he also has his component in Indy Lights, and great to have George in the paddock. Of course, we've seen him work with drivers like Colton Herta in years past as well.
Right.
Robert Mcginnis, as you said, riding on board the number 27 machine, driver out of Mount Kisco, New York, and Mcginnis coming off a tremendous weekend at Road America. It's just like everything kind of came back together. Like Kirkwood, didn't do any open-wheel Formula Car racing in 2020, did some sports car racing with Lexus and Vassar Sullivan Racing. So I think just him getting back behind the wheel and getting comfortable again, we'll see some good speed out of Mcginnis before all things are said and done. Coming out of turn number 11 out of Thunder Valley, down over here to turn number 12. And John, in USF 2000, we talked about patience. It's the same thing here through the carousel with Indy Lights. You see him just waiting on the car to take that step before you can get back on the throttle.
Yeah, exactly right. It's the two turns, the carousel and the keyhole, the two, quote, signature turns here at Mid-Ohio are both that way. They really require the driver to just wait before you get on the power. And they're both very important because they lead onto straightaways. The keyhole especially leads onto the longest straightaway, so technically it's the most important turn on the racetrack.
And look at that. You can just see Mcginnis sawing at the wheel there a little bit.
Yeah.
The car was kind of getting away from him a little bit mid-corner. That happens off-camber, downhill, right-hander. A lot of times you'll feel that the rear of the car start to step away, that kind of exits oversteer through turn 4, back up over to turn number 5. That rides up the hill, crest the hill there. You see how blind it is. Car gets super light. Back on the throttle once it plants. A little brake probably there through turn number 6 and back on it through 6 and 7. Again, those of you tuning in to Sirius and XM, great to have you on board. We'll be back at it once again this afternoon. Indy Lights qualifying at 3:35. Saturday and Sunday will be the full IndyCar Radio Network crew. Our anchor, Nick Yeoman, will take back over once again. Driver analyst Davey Hamilton. Mark Janes will join as well, the voice of the IndyCar Radio Network and the voice of the Indianapolis 500. On the corners, it'll be the veterans Jake Query and Michael Young, and I'll be on pit lane with Alex Wolf. Great crew back at it again here for the 2021 Indy Lights season. And the great thing I love about this, John, is one of these drivers that you're seeing here today in Indy Lights is going to be an IndyCar next year. At least for 3 races.
At least one.
At least for 3 races and at least one drive. But one of these kids is going to run IndyCar next year. And that's been part of the pleasure over the last number of years when we go back to the Gabi Chavez and guys like Spencer Piggott and Kaiser and these guys that won that championship and were able to move forward. Pato Award, of course, and hopefully we'll see Oliver Askew again back in 2022. Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah, that scholarship, $1.2 million total value, is just unprecedented, and it's a great opportunity for these drivers to get it done. And, as I said, Kyle Kirkwood winning the most races ever in Road to Indy championship competition, sort of like feels like he's got the leg up basically if he continues his trend. But you look at Linus Lindquist making his first start in the Road to Indy series this year. Skipping the first 2 basically because he was competing overseas.
Yeah.
And coming in here and being in the hunt for the championship. And David Malucas, a returning driver with all of his success with 4 wins on the season. Like I say, this is going to go right down to the last turn of the last race of the season here.
I really believe that for Indy Lights for sure. I think maybe a little bit different in the other categories, get a little tighter.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, these, it's Malucas, Lundqvist, and Kirkwood who are right there in the scrap to see who's going to win this championship. And again, all it's going to take is a big weekend for Toby Sauer. He sweeps a couple of races, and he potentially is able to go and grab maybe a little piece of the fight. Now, one thing we talked about. Only 3 events left for USF 2000. Here this weekend, New Jersey at the end of August, and then the first weekend of October, our finale back here at Mid-Ohio. A little different for Indy Pro 2000. You throw those 3 events in, but you also toss in Worldwide Technology Raceway Gateway, the oval race.
Right.
For Indy Lights, we're a long way from being done because you have all 3 of the races we just talked about, right? Plus you've got Portland.
Right.
Plus you've got WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the West Coast Swing. So we're a long way to go for drivers here in Indy Lights.
Yeah, you're barely into the second half of the season for these guys. So there's lots of racing to go.
Victory so far this year for David Malucas. As I said, 4 wins for Malucas, a couple of wins for Linus Lundqvist, and 4 wins for Kyle Kirkwood. Only those 3 drivers scoring wins so far. But again, Toby Sauer, like I said, has been knocking at the door. had a good run of 3 podiums in a row. And then Robert Mcginnis coming off those 2 podiums, a third and a second at Road America. He's primed to get back at it. He's a former race winner, won at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course in 2019. But if there's a driver that I think, and I thought it was going to be at Road America, and I actually messaged him on Instagram that this is your weekend. I think it's going to happen, and that's Alex Peroni, the Australian driver with the Blundstone sponsorship for Carlin. Carlin, remember, when in 2015 came in. And I think they dominated. I want to say they won the first 2 races at St. Petersburg when we brought the new car out. And everybody's like, "Wow, Carlin's here. This is an international powerhouse." So obviously, the whole Carlin operation, everything they do is always so top notch. Trevor Carlin runs a tight ship. They're battling in the championship. Didn't quite win the title, but they won the next year with Ed Jones. They've been away from Indy Lights for a couple of years, and it's Colin Hale run that program. You could just see how they've got better and better every race. They're dialing things back in, getting a feel for whatever the tire compound is now. They're getting everything dialed in, and I was sure that Peroni was going to come out of the gate there. He was running second at Road America, podium for sure for Alex, and had trouble with the gearbox. Right. Like, oh my, you got to be kidding me! And then battling in the top 5 on Sunday ends up with the contact between he and Toby Sauer, and I believe a flat tire had to come back in, and it just didn't go Alex's way. But Alex Peroni's ready for a breakout, and it could come this weekend. He could be victorious here, I think.
He's currently 6th quick with a 13.3. 2 drivers in the 112s already. Robert Mcginnis, who we've been riding along with a 112.822. Just a fraction ahead of David Malucas in the 79 with a 112.83. Stingray Robb, 3rd quick with a 113 flat. Daniel Frost, the Singaporean, in the 4th position in the 68 car, a 113.1. Devlin DeFrancesco rounding out the top 5. He's in the pits currently, along with Kyle Kirkwood and Christian Bogle.
Interesting to see Robert Mcginnis up top, and I'm just as you're going through the order there, I'm trying to think. I'm looking at the list. I'm thinking, which driver has the most Road to Indy starts of all those drivers here? Because Robert Mcginnis, USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, and Indy Lights, of course. I want to, in my mind, I think it's going to be Nikita Lastishkin, because he went USF 2000, Indy Pro, and now into the Indy Lights, and ran the Indy Pro 2000 program. Oh, you know what? Tammy Valkoski, who's our director of communications,
she will have that information.
It's either going to be Steve Whittick over here, or
right,
from Trackside Online, or it's going to be Tammy Valkoski. She'll message me and she'll say, "This is the driver with the most starts." I'm going to say it's either Mcginnis or Lastishkin with the most starts in the Road to Indy. But for Robert Mcginnis, and where I go with that is Robert Mcginnis has run a lot of races here at Mid-Ohio. He ran in the F1600 Championship Series, I believe, with Team Pelfrey the year before. So he's got to have somewhere upwards of 12 or more starts, I would think, probably here at Road America, if not more. I mean, rather at Mid-Ohio. So, again, track knowledge, I think, plays a key. Maybe not in these particular race cars. Robert hasn't had a chance to race here in a couple of years. But for Mcginnis to be a little ahead of maybe Lundqvist, just based on track knowledge, that's a possibility.
Yep. Daniel Frost moves up into 2nd spot and joins the 112 second club, a 112.72, as he is just about a 100th of a second off of Robert Mcginnis's time. And then a 10th and a half back to David Malucas, the points leader. Stingray Robb still in 4th. Benjamin Peterson up into 5th spot. Peterson, the teammate of Linus Lundqvist and the Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports team, forming that partnership. And Christian Peterson, Benjamin's dad, the team principal of that outfit. And good to see Benjamin up in the top 5.
No doubt about it. It took less than 60 seconds. Tammy Valkoski, director of Road to Indy Communications. Nikita Lastishkin, 75 before the start of this season. 75 starts for Nikita in USF 2000, Indy Pro, and Indy Lights. And the other thing about Nikita, oldest driver in the field, 30 years of age.
Right.
Is he trying to become a professional IndyCar driver? Probably not. But for Nikita, he said when he was supposed to race last year, actually, before the season went on hiatus, and his mind was, I want to go to Indy Lights. He did F1600, did USF, did Indy Pro. Hasn't got a victory, but has multiple podiums along all the programs. For him to be able to now run in Indy Lights, he's loving it. He's just he's with HMD Motorsports alongside David Malucas, with Peterson, with Lundqvist in that that combined team, and he's absolutely loving life. And I've been really impressed with Nikita. not surprised at all, but impressed because he's just been as steady as he always has been. This guy doesn't put a wheel on. He doesn't make mistakes on the racetrack, and he's getting better and better every weekend. You can see how close he and Bogle and Saravalli and all these younger drivers, or newer drivers, are getting closer to the top.
Exactly right. Much of the field in the pits right now. Benjamin Peterson, Kyle Kirkwood, the only two out running. Linus Lundqvist has not yet turned a time after his incident up in the keyhole turn on his outlap. So we'll see how Benjamin and Kyle can do since they've got the track to themselves at the moment.
John, a couple of really uncharacteristic miscues for Linus Lundqvist.
Yeah.
Not something that we've seen. You know, is that an indication of the fact that it's championship time?
Yeah.
You know, it's elbows up time right now. Even though there's a long way to go in the season, I think every one of these guys is waiting for that breakout to kind of separate himself from the field a little bit.
Yep.
8 points separate the top three drivers. Salary 64 back in total from David Malucas. But they're all so tight right now. Actually, Steve Whittick and I were talking a bit about it before I came into the booth. I don't think people understand, or they can't see it, right? The absolute unbelievable pressure that these drivers are under.
Oh, sure.
You know, they're enjoying themselves in the pit, right? They're joking. But man, there's the pressure to get this close. It's not like your USF 2000. You got a couple of years to go. You're trying to get to Indy Pro. These guys up front, especially in this championship battle, they're at these races in front of the IndyCar team owners every weekend.
Yeah.
They want to impress. They want to show what they've got. They want to get that chance. They realize that we're in a place right now of a kind of generational move in NTT IndyCar Series racing where seats are going to start coming open, you know, and the performances by Arenas, VK, Oliver Askew, Pato Award, Colton Herta, these IndyCar owners are saying, I don't want to lose the next superstar coming up.
Yep.
You know, they're going to want to grab a hold of these guys. So the pressure on these guys every session, every lap is unbelievably high. And for me, I have so much admiration and pride for them in what they're able to do in terms of being able to harness that excitement and that, I guess, nervous anxiety to a certain extent.
Well, and especially for you, Rob, because you followed these guys from karting.
Many of them,
because obviously, you do with all the work you do in go-karting. So you've really, groomed these riders all the way up to the highest level of the road to Indy. So you're right. The pressure is immense. There's only 13 drivers in the field, and only one of them is going to earn that scholarship.
That's it, right? And that scholarship is that ticket, man. It's the golden ticket for
Yep.
at least 3 races, including the Indianapolis 500. And I remember when I had the interview with Oliver Askew after he won the Freedom 100, the year that he won the championship, and we talked about the fact that he had come to on a tour. We were actually at Mark Dismore's track, Newcastle Motorsports Park, which is just not too far from here, actually,
Right.
but just outside in Indianapolis. And he was there racing karts, and they came in and did a tour, and he was stood on top of Victory Lane, looking down at the racetrack at the Yard of Bricks. And here he and I are talking there after he won the Freedom, and Oliver, got emotional and kind of broke down thinking about that, right?
Yeah.
And that's the pressure there. And then, but to think at the end of the season, you see once they've won that championship, and they realize, that's the question I always ask. You're going to race next year in the Indianapolis 500. It's almost like disbelief in their minds that they realize that they've accomplished the goal, and next year they're going to be where they maybe never thought they could get.
Exactly right. Kyle Kirkwood's atop the order. What a surprise. A 1:12.4415.
Shocker.
About a quarter of a second clear. In fact, now it's about 3/10 as he goes even faster. A 1:12.306. Robert Mcginnis, second quick by about 3/10 of a second. Daniel Frost, only a 100th of a second further back. So the Andretti teammates sandwiched in there second and third. Toby Sowery in the 4th spot. Benjamin Peterson in the 5th spot. And again, the top 5 separated by 4/10 of a second. The top 9 separated by 9/10 of a second.
Yeah, it's an Andretti 1, 2, 3 right now. Kirkwood, Mcginnis, and Frost. And don't count out Daniel Frost. 2 pole positions at Road America. Really wasn't able to transition that, I think, into the results he wanted. Did get P3 in race number 2, but contact between he and David Malucas in turn number 1 of the opening race, obviously turned everything upside down for Daniel. But coming back to P3 in the second race, I think, was great. He's starting to get more comfortable as well. The thing about Daniels, I want to say I think he's only done 1 full season, I think, of Indy Pro 2000 racing a couple years ago, and then last year as well. I should every once in a while I put the asterisks on 2020. You almost don't think of it to a certain extent, but he's got 2 full seasons.
Right.
Before only did about 3 races in USF 2000. So Daniels again coming up to speed, getting comfortable with the team, and the DenJet sponsored car and the driver. I was really impressed with the speed at Road America. He likes that racetrack. He's done really well there before, and again, such a different racetrack than this particular facility. Yeah, it does have some elevation changes, but a lot of long duration corners, hard, long straightaways, hard braking. This track more flowing. This track is more all the undulations, the flow. You have to get into a rhythm here. And John, we talked about it. The pass at turn number 2 sometimes starts in the getting out of the carousel.
Yep.
The pass at 4, maybe even at 5 or 6, is how well you get out of turn number 2. That's the beauty of this racetrack. Yeah. You set passes up numerous corners before.
Yeah, the only heavy braking zone on the track is the one down into 4, a little bit into the keyhole, especially running the pro course configuration with the straight shot between turn 1 and the keyhole. But those are the only 2 heavy braking areas, which are natural passing zones, if you will. Everything else, like I say, it's all flow, it's all technical, and it's very physical. It's going to be hot here on Sunday, and we've got unseasonably cool temperatures now. It's only 65 degrees ambient. Track temperature is down as the sun has gone behind a cloud. Track temperature down to about 87 degrees, but it's going to be back in the high 80s on Sunday. So it's a tough drive. I mean, I have interviewed IndyCar drivers at this track coming out of the cockpit after this race, and they are spent. I mean, these are fit guys, and they are soaking wet and absolutely, get it done. So,
and 100%, Joe, you have to give the drivers when they get out of the car a chance to, like I've done the same thing with IndyCar Radio. They're up against the guardrail and the concrete, taking a breather, drinking some water. This track is physical.
Absolutely.
100%
It'll take a lot out of you. Yeah, you don't get there's no place to really rest. You're basically turning or maneuvering the car pretty much constantly, except for the run down the straightaway.
That's it. Yeah. And even the straightaway, there's a kink there, and guys are working on you.
It's got a dog going.
There's not a lot of chance to leave and breathe. But an interesting thing you mentioned about the weather, 65 degrees right now. How is that going to play into all our engineers?
Yeah.
The drivers can do what they can on the racetrack, but they've got to bring the data back and their input back to the engineers. But the engineers have to look at, what's this track going to be like tomorrow?
Right.
65 today, mid-70s tomorrow, mid to high 80s on Sunday. The rubber keeps going down. The track is so much different. You can't just, for a team that has a setup and doesn't adjust it for the next session, those are the guys that are going to go backwards. You want to say, I got a great race car right now. It's P3. Leave it alone. Well, then the Indy cars go out and lay down a bunch of rubber, and then all of a sudden the track is completely different. You have to evolve and set up throughout the entire weekend.
Yeah, especially for these guys, because both USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000 qualify before the IndyCar's drivers' first practice, but these guys are right after. So after 45 minutes of the NTT IndyCars out there, the track is going to be a whole lot different.
Antonio Saravalli in the pit lane, his Picera Racing crew coming to his aid. Here comes number 24 as well. That is Benjamin Peterson. Linus Lundqvist, his teammate at HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group, out already after the incident over in turn number 2 at the start. Here's a full field rundown for you right now as we have about 12 and a half minutes remaining. Kyle Kirkwood out of Jupiter, Florida in the Andretti Autosport at number 28 P1, a 112.360 fast time so far. Over 3/10 clear of his teammate Robert Mcginnis in the number 27. Daniel Frost in Singapore third, so it's an Andretti 1, 2, 3. Toby Sowery from Hookos Racing currently in fourth. Benjamin Peterson for HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group in the 5th spot. David Malucas for HMD, your current point leader. 8 markers ahead of Kirkwood and Lundqvist, is sitting here in 6th. Stingray Rob 7th. Devlin DiFrancesco 8th. 9th is Alex Peroni. 10th is Antonio Saravalli. 11th, Nikita Lastishkin. And 12th, Christian Vogel. And 13th, with no time as of yet, outlap incident for Linus Lundqvist. And again, those of you watching on Road D&D TV, riding back on board here with Robert Mcginnis from P2. But again, I gotta say this, John, a 90-minute session earlier today, that's probably a better indication of overall pace right now because they were allowed to put fresh tires on. Everybody right now on tires that they carried over from the street race in Detroit.
Yeah, lap time they're going to be shooting for in the qualifying was the last time these drivers were here. That was in 2019. And Oliver Askew, not surprisingly, set the pole at a 1:10.8079. So that's the time they're going to be shooting for later this afternoon. The race lap record was set back in 2015 by Jack Harvey at a 1:11.58.04. So
that was a that was a good battle weekend, man. Jack Harvey, they went at it. That's the one thing about this racetrack. We mentioned it in a bunch of we've done USF 2000, Indy Pro already, talking about the fact that this is kind of a turning point event. And it was a turning point event that year for sure as well. But indeed, Indy Lights back on track. Just for those of you tuning in, at 3:35 this afternoon, we'll have qualifying for race number 1 for Indy Lights. Of course, they'll be back at it racing on Saturday and Sunday for the big show, the NTT IndyCar Series drivers. Again, Robert Mcginnis getting a lot of laps in here. I think we're where is he in terms of laps? 15 for him, 19 for Benjamin Peterson, 19 for Stingray Robb, and 18 for Antonio Saravalli program, John. Super interesting. They worked hard in the offseason to get this together. Potentially trying to get Antonio in a couple of teams. They elected instead to lease a car, lease a truck and trailer, or the trailer. Obviously, they rent the truck to pull things around. They put this team together in about 2 months, got the car, got it updated with the Halo type device, literally kind of putting a ragtag group of guys together that were still available. There's not a lot of crew members usually available in February and March. We rolled it out to our spring training event at Barber Motorsports Park, and I'll tell you, they've been I think a bright spot, surprise for sure. Antonio, who has never been a full season of racing, jumped right into Indy Pro 2000. He's been pretty impressive. I'll tell you this right now, the young Canadian. We've seen him get some stellar runs. 6th position was his best result at North America. Was able to get in there and fight among some of the big dogs. So I think this team just kind of stabilized themselves. The focus on getting obviously back here next year with Antonio, maybe even a couple more years with him, but to add a second car to the team, to have some extra data. So again, just another one of the break points of Indy Lights here for 2021. 9 minutes remaining. Kirkwood still on top. No one going any quicker here. The cars will get later and later. The tires, of course, will fade off a little bit. Tire deg was one of the interesting things that we had at Road America, as I mentioned earlier. A different tire construction, a thinner tire tread actually to dissipate the heat more from those long duration corners. But with that, we had tire degradation we've never had. 1.5, 2, 3 seconds off tire deg. So that's where the strategy came about, where you saw some drivers potentially holding on to tires. The beauty of it being good in practice, especially in Indy Lights, is if you can go out on your first set of slicker tires in qualifying and lay down a good, especially Road America, 1%. If you're on pole, here was Oliver Askew this the year. He won the championship. If you can go on pole here on 1 set and not have to go to 2 sets, and you're holding that ace in the hole, that fresh set of tires for race number 2, that is crucial. But you have to be good at practice to be able to have the confidence to qualify.
Exactly. Most of the field back out on track. Only Stingray Robb and Mcginnis in the pits currently. Linus Lundqvist not included, so we've got 10 cars out on track right now. And the times continually coming down. We've got 6 drivers under 1:13, with Kirkwood's 1:12.306 set a handful of laps ago. Still the quickest time, and by about 0.3 of a second, which is pretty substantial margin.
Monumental in this particular series. Normally we don't see that at all. And you wonder as well, Kirkwood at Detroit, remember, was super good at Detroit. Maybe this carryover set's a little better than somebody else's carryover set as well, because maybe he was able to hold on to a set of tires, only a couple sessions. Or, hey, let's be real, he was also running out front. He was never in the aero wash. He never had that, that push in the corner. And that track's obviously very, very bumpy, but maybe if Kyle took care of those tires, he may have a little, that may speak to a 10th or 2 here. I'm just speculating, but otherwise we don't normally see anybody that much further up front, because you can see further back. Mcginnis and Frost separated by a 100th of a second. Sauer back by 600ths of a second. Peterson back by 400ths of a second. Malucas back by 7,000ths of a second. So behind this 0.3 of a second gap for Kirkwood, everybody else within about a 10th and a half.
Yeah, exactly right. With 6.5 minutes remaining in this session. Getting a word from some of the corner stations. I've got their radio network in my ear, and just a few reports of a raindrop here or there.
Really?
Yeah, there is a somewhat of a chance of rain about midday today. The last time I looked at my weather app, 17, 21, 31%. Through about 4 o'clock this afternoon, so it's not unheard of. But as I look at the radar, there's nothing on the radar, so it would be a pop-up shower if it does happen. So.
We don't want any of that right now.
Yeah. It's supposed to be good the rest of the weekend. So.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
And yeah, as John had mentioned, it's going to be a lot warmer on Sunday. That's going to make things interesting. That said, we'll go off a little earlier in the morning, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 10 o'clock in the morning for Indy Lights. USF 2000 on track at 8:05, 9 o'clock for Indy Pro 2000, 10 o'clock for Indy Lights. Great way to wake up if you're camping here in Mid-Ohio. Have some breakfast, put on the coffee, and get a chance to watch the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series.
In fact, the IndyCar race goes off early. It's a noon start, which is usual. Normally it's a little later in the afternoon, but so we'll be finished with the IndyCar race at about 2 o'clock. Stadium Super Trucks are here this weekend as well, so it should be good fun.
Love watching the Super Trucks.
Yep.
Love it.
Robbie Gordon's got a winner.
No doubt about it. Great addition to any event that we go to. 5 minutes remaining in the session. Kyle Kirkwood still on top. Mcginnis, Frost, Sowery, and Peterson, your top 5. Benjamin Peterson looking pretty good there as well, as John had said, a 112.828. Peterson, another driver, John, coming off a really good weekend, best finish of the season for him, matching his second place finish of the opening round at Barber Motorsports Park. Benjamin was really racy at Road America. Again, as I said, second and seventh in the second race, but pretty happy to get to the podium back for P2 and a good run for him. I think there's a lot of talent there. And I would think that Benjamin Peterson, HMD Motorsport, what they've done with Global Racing Group and the talent they put together, not only in the cars, but the guys on the wrenches and the guys in the engineering rooms, they brought together. It's what I love about HMD. Andretti's been together for a long time, right? And a lot of their guys, we watch them go from Indy Lights up to the IndyCar team, whether with their own team or other teams. They've been developing a lot of guys. HMD was almost like a draft where you bring a new team in, right? Expansion draft. The way that they were able to assemble their core guys, a tremendous amount of talent under the tent. And I think if Benjamin Peterson comes back with them in 2022, he's going to be an instant championship contender.
Oh yeah, no question. And their team was dominant in Formula Regional Americas competition, so they bring a lot of pedigree into this, and their partnership with HMD was just a marriage made in heaven for them. So Linus Lundqvist obviously taking advantage of that, and Benjamin, I think, going to be one to watch.
We haven't really talked about the ramifications yet of the fact that Lundqvist did go off. Now, again, a 90-minute session earlier today, so it's not like he's lacking any kind of track time, but everybody else here, as the track continues to change throughout the day, they're getting more opportunity to keep adjusting and keep changing and making adjustments. Lundqvist, we said, completely out of the session at all. We're talking guys into the 21, 22, 23 laps in this session here, so that's how far back he's going to be. And when you're in a championship battle with guys like a David Malucas and a Kyle Kirkwood and potentially a Toby Sowery, man,
you can't afford.
You can't leave that on the table.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right.
100%, John.
Yeah. I mean, he was again, and we kind of talked about this earlier on. He was only 8th quick in this morning session before he went off, and I think he's feeling a little pressure to step up his game. He realizes he's not quite as quick as he would like to be here this weekend, and so I think he's feeling the pressure to push maybe a little harder than he should, and that's what's putting behind the 8 ball. So.
Well, and look at his. If you look at his results too, he comes off a tremendous weekend in Detroit, right? A couple of second place finishes, good points,
yep.
Real strong, and then a 4th and a 5th at Road America, and that's not. It's not that is, it's top 5s.
Sure.
But when you're trying to win a championship, you're expecting he wants to be back on he wants to be on the podium.
He wants to be on the box every year.
And he wants to be winning races. He doesn't want David Malucas to get one, Kirkwood to get one. He needs to get back on it. Maybe just put a little pressure on himself here for this particular race weekend and kind of get back to where he's been earlier in the year.
In the final 2 minutes here of this session, Kirkwood's time that he set several laps ago, still standing as the quickest time of the session. He was quickest in all 3 segments, a 1:12.3606. Daniel Frost, a 1:12.6722, second quick. David Malucas, a 1:12.6782. Robert Mcginnis now back to 4th at a 1:12.7157. Toby Sowery also in the pits, rounding out the top 5 with a 1:7.78.
I would have to think that the Juncos Racing crew not overly disappointed right now. They would have Sowery a little closer, but he's only about a 10th behind Frost, number 1. Kirkwood, of course, out front where he is, but even Stingray Robb now up to P5. We're seeing cars start going quicker. You just had less than 2 minutes to go. Fuel load going down. Stingray Robb up into P5. Winner last year in the Indy Pro 2000 category, here to start off what was a championship run. First race win in the Road to Indy coming last year. You can just see when Stingray Robb got to victory lane here in Mid-Ohio, the amount of pressure that had been released from his shoulders. Finally able to get that race win. Then he went on a tear after that and was sweeping races and was able to win the championship and a scholarship to move up to Indy Lights. He's had a tough start to the season, but not surprising. The level of competition is so tough here. But getting better and better, moving up to P5 a little quicker than his teammate right now. They're separated by, 27 thousandths of a second. So very similar race cars for Juncos Racing. Stingray Robb in 5th and Toby Sowery in 6th.
Devlin DiFrancesco goes up to second quick, a 1:12.66.00 on the knockings of this session, within 0.3 of a second of the time set by Kyle Kirkwood. So he bumps Daniel Frost back into third spot. Malucas fourth, Mcginnis now fifth. So DiFrancesco, that's a great lap for him.
Well, it maintains the Andretti 1-2-3 because Andretti Steinbrenner Racing. Andretti 1-2-3-5. Kirkwood, DiFrancesco, Frost, and Mcginnis as David Malucas moving his way up to P4 in the HMD Motorsports number 79. Checkered flag has been displayed in Thunder Valley. The alternate start-finish line or timing lines. As drivers come through there. That white line across the racetrack is the timing line. They'll see the checkered flag there, and we are done for the session. Everybody able to finish this final lap. Of course, cars light on fuel. Opportunity to show a little more pace here, but Kyle Kirkwood laying it down big time early in the session. 1:12.360, still essentially 0.3 quicker than Robert Mcginnis, who's got back to P2. Did Kirkwood actually go quicker?
I don't think so.
Everything just moved around. DiFrancesco now down to the 8th spot.
Yeah, I think that might have been a timing anomaly.
Oh,
no,
there he is,
he's
back to second.
Okay, there he goes. Timing is debating here. The computer's thinking, I think.
So right now it's Kirkwood, DiFrancesco, Frost, Malucas, and Mcginnis. Indeed, we just had a little bit of a glitch in the matrix. As Indy Pro 2000, USF 2000 already done. Indy Lights now done as well. Daniel Frost rolling in front of us here in the Denjet Delora IL-15 for Andretti Autosport. 2 pole positions at Road America. Here comes Peroni, Saravalli, DiFrancesco as well on the power tap machine. DiFrancesco, I think, looking for a breakout weekend as well. Currently sitting 5th in points, a couple of podiums, 3rd place finishes at Barber Motorsports Park to start the season, but hasn't been able to get that back in the middle of the run here as Kirkwood and Malucas and Lundqvist have kind of moved to the forefront. Again, we saw that his teammate Mcginnis really had a big one at Road America. Last year's Indy Pro 2000 runner-up DiFrancesco, ready for that breakout, but again, just for him, setting up the season here, learning all the tracks, getting comfortable. He came over from Europe last year, was going to run Indy Lights, but ended up running Indy Pro because we ended up putting the series on hiatus. Devlin DiFrancesco setting himself up for what could be a championship run next year as well. I'd love to see him back in Indy Lights. Keep pushing, keep learning, keep winning. Well, John, that's going to wrap things up for Indy Lights. 3:35, folks, scheduled start time for qualifying this afternoon. We'll be back on Sirius and XM once again. Join John Phippen and myself, Rob Howden, have live coverage of qualifying for race number 1. And as I said, the entire IndyCar Radio Network crew, led by anchor Nick Yeoman, will be back on the air for all of the action on Saturday and Sunday here from Mid-Ohio. But otherwise, we are done. Indy Lights practice finished. Kyle Kirkwood putting his name again on the program here and a chance to get a race win. The American for Andretti Autosport, the fastest driver with a 1:12.360. Devlin DiFrancesco in second. Good run for him at the end there. That'll make him feel good going into qualifying. Daniel Frost third, David Malucas fourth, Robert Mcginnis fifth, and Stingray Robb capping off the Fast Six. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Again, we'll see you qualifying at 3:35.